Hi there guys, this is another video just to show you how to modify guns in Albion Albaton and Terran Conflict. If you've seen the other two videos, you may have a good sort of start now. If you haven't seen them, I suggest you go and watch one or two of them and get to grips with it all. So the next thing we need to do to edit the guns is to go back into our type folders, which from last time we've only got 2 files there. So what we need to do is to go back into our data file and grab T bullets and T laser. Now if we copy them and stick them into our type folders, now we've got the 2 files here. Now you're probably wondering why there's 2. Well, one of them, which is T laser, is the actual gun on the ship, and T bullets is the projectile it fires. So for example, you might fit a photon pulse cannon which fires a particular type of projectile, which is a sort of a ball thing. So what we need to do now is go back to our tools and open our editor. So now we need to open let's open T-Laser this time and open it with the file editor. Now here we've got a list of all the guns in the game. 2 of them here are empty, so you could actually potentially use them yourself, but these are just all the list of the guns. Like I said, they're just kind of, this part of the stats are actually in here and there's the rest of it in the other section. So in this section we have the rate of fire we can change. We can change the projectile it fires, so i.e. what it fires in T-bullet, and basically the stuff that's like your cargo hold and price. So yeah, and the rotation then points there is how quickly the gun moves. So for example, if it's on a turret or something like that, in this example you can see it can turn quite quick, 25 revolutions per minute. If you look at a photon pulse cannon, you see it's much slower. So let's have a look at T bullets now. So if we go and open it, T bullets, again with the type editor. Now we've got another list of all the bullets in the game. So these are the things that are fired by the guns. If you notice, there is more bullets than there is lasers, and that's because sometimes a bullet potentially, they could actually fire another bullet. So for example, in a flat gun you may get the initial projectile going out towards the ship, then when it gets near it explodes and then it creates maybe 3 or 4 smaller projectiles, and that's why sometimes there's more in this list than there is in the other. In T bullets, basically there's just the properties of the bullet itself. So for example, we can change, we have to go on the bullet data thing here, we can change how much energy is used, how much hull and shield damage it does. OOS hull and shield damage is out of sector, which is to do with the balancing. So like I said, if you change these numbers, I would try and keep them around the same percentage as the others, because that tries to keep it all balanced then. Out of sectors stuff is handled differently, and so battles and all that lot may turn out slightly different. So other than that, we've got effect, so it slows down the ship or whatever it hits. Damage over time. We can see when I was saying about creating other bullets is create fragments. So for example, we could create more little missiles, I think, yeah. Then obviously ammunition, I think 1 to 8 doesn't mean any. Lifetime, obviously how long the projectile stays in space. Speed, obviously how quickly it gets to its target. The range is calculated between lifetime and speed, so you can't edit that property. rapid box, I'm not too sure what them do. I think they're to do with hitbox. Trail effect is not exactly. You can add projectile trail effects to projectiles. So, for example, you might get a smoke effect after a missile, but that can be a little bit tricky sometimes setting up. So I won't want to get into that yet. Impact effect and launch effect is basically when the projectile hits something, it makes a particular explosion effect or something. And the same for launch effect, it's when it is launched from the gun, what effect is produced. For example, a little light could flash just to show it's being fired. Engine trail, like I said, it's to do with trail effects, I think, but that I don't want to get into. Colour RGB, I never really understood what that did. Ambient sound is the sound the bullet makes whilst it's alive. So, for example, it could be a missile and it could make a sort of engine noise to say it's make it go in again. Ambient the sound volumes, I'm not totally sure that's being used anymore. So with all that, we now got a load of flags down here. APC, I think, makes the projectile light all round the ship, but I'm not too sure on that. Beam obviously changes it into a beam. I wouldn't suggest using beam too much because the way Egosoft done beam weapons is that when they're in the hands of a player, they act differently than when they are in the hands of an NPC. So it makes balancing very, very tricky. So if you notice, a lot of the beam weapons in the game aren't actually player controlled weapons. Zigzag, I think, is it hits other projectiles or something like that. I think the Iron Disruptor uses that one. Not sure about Aerial. Disable should obviously use that. Use ammo if ticked means it uses certain type of ammo which is defined at the top. Repair means instead of doing damage, it does the opposite effect, and instead of doing damage to hull, for example, it will actually replenish it. Flank, not totally sure. Reduce speed, obviously, if you tick that and set the settings up the top to reduce its speed, then you could actually slow ships down. Drain weapons, damage over time. Fragmentation is when it splits into multiple pieces. Charged weapon means you can actually hold the button down and then keep charging it and charge it and then let go and then the projectile fire. If I remember, just finding it now, is I think a photon, let's have a look, PPC is a charged weapon, which I'm not too sure why they've done that, but it means you can, in the turret or so, you can actually hold the button down and then charge it up and let go. Right, so this actually took about changing something. So let's change, try and impulse ram it, I guess. Hopefully the ship I've got, I'm just wondering actually, I might be able to do high energy plasma fire. So what we can do is if we leave this page alone, so we keep it at the same speed, rate of fire, same sound, what we can do is to the projectile. So if we go on here and look for SS Bullet HPT, so we need to, could change it, does that, yeah, okay, if that may help, put an ID, and then we're looking for high energy plasma, there we go, right next to it. So now what we want to do, for example, is to increase the speed. So if we make it 10 times faster, you can see the range has gone up. So to counter this, let's bring the lifetime down to, say, half a second. Mind you, that's a little bit low. Let's make it 1 second. .4, that may be about right. And then So basically that will make the gun projectile, the bullet travel much faster, but then it will disappear quicker. So probably might be worth saving that. We could also say let's change the rate of fire. Let's make it 1,000. So it should fire much faster and it should travel much faster. So let's save it. Now we need to go back into Mod Manager, open our mini mod again. Can get rid of that one, not actually using that one. So let's add. We've got to go back and find it. So this time add T laser and T bullet, and we should have the top and more on the list. So now we need to do is actually to try it. So it's back into our game. So we need to find a save with a HEPT. I think the Bankrupt Assassin has one, if I remember correctly.
Argon, Flight School, Nova.
So hopefully we have actually got HEPT on this ship. Yep, we got 2 of them. So hopefully now it should be a bit different. How's that?
Attention, energy low.
So because I didn't change the energy uses but increased the rate of fire, it's going to drag the guns out quicker. So let's have a look about, I just want to see what the beam effect does. So let's try modifying it and giving it the beam property. And let's just save it and add it back, replace it, then try again. And when you make changes, you will often find you will have to come right out of the game back to the main menu. But yeah, so that, well, kind of got to reload the whole lot, because if you don't do that, it may pick up old settings.
Argon, Flight School, Nova.
So let's have a look at and see what beam does. Don't think that was working very well.
Attention, energy low.
Right.
Hey, that had better have been an accident.
It is actually working beam, but I think what's the problem is the projectile isn't being shown, so you can't see the actual beam. So what we could do is to nick the chronometer. So if we come down and look for the car emitter, which is here, 33, which uses projectile K whatever alpha. So if we're going to have a look for that one, which is there. So what we need to do is to look for its model. Oh, here you go. Model file 525. Now if we go into our, just one thing I want to check is how fast the lifetime's quite low on it, but if we go back to our high energy plasma thrower and change the model from that to 525 and save it, then put it back. I usually suggest overwrite doing all your files like that, because in case you've changed something else. So let's try it again.
Argon, Flight School, Buster.
So hopefully this time the gun should actually put a beam laser on the screen this time. So let's try it. There we go, we got a beam weapon. So if we try it on the poor flight school bloke.
I suggest you leave me alone, or you'll be sleeping with the space flies.
Like I said, I wouldn't suggest using beam very often, but I was just using it as an example because it's something that's quite easy to show. So that's all we have to do, is to basically change it. So another thing we could do is, instead of changing the bullet, is change the gun as such, or what it fires. So for example, in here it says high energy plasma thrower. If we change that, we could make it fire could try PPC. So if we save that, add all our files and overwrite, try again. So hopefully now it will fire a different projectile. It should fire a PPC, or photon pulse cannon.
Argon, Flight School, Nova.
Although I'm just wondering about the energy usage, but could try it. Ah, so it worked. There you go, it's a PPC.
Attention, energy low.
And that's all you have to do, is to change the weapons about. Like I said, whatever changes you make will change for all RAM guns, including the NPC. So now the NPCs are firing high plasma. Instead of firing high plasma energy thrower bullets, they're all firing PPCs now. I think if I remember is that you can add more bullets to the list, but I think you're kind of fixed on how many lasers you can have. I think that's probably all you can add. I'm not too sure, but I think you can have a lot more in here. But anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea and something to change and adjust and see what you get on with. Like I said, it's not a full in-depth guide because it can get quite advanced. One example is being these models. You can get quite into building your own models for the bullets, so when they get fired you could fire little sort of pellets, or you could fire great big round, I don't know, flashy effects and things like that. But for the time being we don't want to get into that. I mean, you can use a tool to actually find out what this is. If I've still got it on it, I think it was bod maker. No, it wasn't. Bod viewer. I don't know if that's set up anymore. I don't think it is, because I think I need to extract all the files for that to work. It might be. So what was it? 300? No. 520. See if this does work. Ah, there you go. So that is the beam weapon that we fired, and you could probably have a look through. That looks like a multicoloured one. So let's just before I stop the video, let's try that yellow one, which I think might be an engine effect, but it might work for a beam weapon, which is 527. So if we go into our PPC now, because we've changed high energy plasma throwers to fire these, if we put it 527 and save that, then add them files back. And try again. I mean, you can never be 100% sure it's going to work. This is what you have to try it, basically. And like I said, you do have to really come out the whole game, because sometimes it may not.
Argon, Flight School, Buster.
So let's see if this works. Well, it's different.
Attention, energy low.
But now that is the high energy plasma thrower. It's just firing PPCs. Also, PPCs will fire PPCs. So
Attention, energy low.
like I said, maybe we could change it actually back to something slightly different, because that's not kind of great. So, for example, maybe we have a look for a different projectile. So don't could try that. If we go back, then change our model to 437. Let's change our energy used. Let's make that pretty low. Let's get rid of that charge thing, and then save that, and then add the files back and try this one. So hopefully now we've removed the beam effect, and we should fire normal projectiles pretty fast, which is a little yellow sort of round sort of bullet.
Argon, Flight School, Buster.
We shouldn't run out of ammo, well, energy very quickly either, so let's try it. Maybe that's a little bit too fast. Maybe we could try that flight school and see what he likes this now.
I suggest you leave me alone, or you'll be sleeping with the spaceflies. Don't say I didn't tell you so. You'd better run and hide.
If I remember, I think that's invincible, so I don't think I can kill it. But anyway guys, that gives you some idea of what you can do and how you can change things. Hopefully that helps you create something different, and basically that's it guys. Thanks for watching.